Hello again, it's Robert Fithen, or should I say, hallo, ich bin Robert Fithen und in diesem Video werde ich versuchen, über meine deutschen Lieblingsrekorde auf Deutsch zu sprechen. Versuchen. Ich würde mit einigen meiner Lieblingsplatten von komischer Musik beginnen. Wie bei jeder großartigen psychedelischen Musik habe ich das Gefühl, dass dies eine Endlosreise ist, auf der ich großartige Musik entdecke. An erster Stelle steht die Band Brain Ticket. Yes, recently I tried to do an entire video in German about my favorite German albums, and watching it back, there was definitely some mixed results. I found that it's quite difficult, actually, to talk about music, especially psychedelic music, and using musical terms when you've had 6 years of German in school and you never used it, and that was decades ago. So yeah, it didn't turn out exactly like I'd hoped, but I did, I talked about the Scorpions. Of course, you got to talk about the Scorpions when you do German albums. This is actually a German pressing of this Animal Magnetism with a different back cover. But I have I have all the early Scorpions albums. Love their album covers. Talked about that. Well, all but one. I don't really like the one with the cracked glass. Talked about a lot of the German progressive rock that I love so much. Talked about bands like Nectar and showed their albums. Talked about, of course, one of my favorites, Brain Ticket and Cottonwood Hill. Die Sirenen und Schlachten, Geräusche und die Weifelten, weiblichen machen die Album zu einem echten deutscher Progressiver Bluesrock. Prog zeigt mich etwas so standardmassigem wie dem Blut zu verbinden ist eine schöne Kombination. Das Album beginnt mit einem of course, Timothy Leary and Ashra Temple, another favorite. Now, natürlich, I talked about Can, and even some more obscure ones like Sahara and Sunrise. Talked, of course, about Tangerine Dream for a little bit as well. Eloy, Amandul, Zwei. A lot of these albums I've talked about in other videos that I had done earlier in English, so I didn't feel like I had to, in this video, really go on and on. You can just watch those other videos and see reviews of those, a lot of those albums, not all of them. But I thought I wanted to do a whole thing, pay tribute to Germany, because I've been, I respect Germany so much since I started learning about them in junior high is where it all started. I actually talked about what made me start wanting to take German and learn more about the country, especially speak the language, because of literally music that I was hearing at that time. I'd already been familiar. I was super obsessed with the Beatles and knew that they had actually done a couple of their songs in German. Komm, gib mir deine Hand, which is for some reason on this American Something New album, and Sie liebt dich, which was just on a single. But yeah, so that, and of course at that time Nena had 99 Luftballons out as well. Ended up getting this album, love the whole thing. It's a really great, energetic 80s album from Nena. Talked about Falco, even did a little of the rap with Rock Me Amadeus. War ein Superstar, war so populär, war so exaltiert, because hatte Flair. War ein Virtuoso, war ein Rocky Idol, and jedes Rief, come and Rock Me Amadeus. And of course, retold the story that I'd already told in another video about how I got the cassette and was really upset that it was not the German version, but some stupid version where a guy's saying all these dates and things that happened with Mozart on these dates, and I was extremely upset about that. Nachdem ich die echte Version auf MTV gehört hatte und Fuchsteufelswild war, als ich herausfand, dass die Bullshit. But I'd mentioned that in another video, of course, in English. Talked about the Peter Gabriel German album. Even talked about Die Toten Hosen. My college years when this was at the college radio station, and I took it to my German class in college and showed it, and the teacher was like, I am not translating that. I think I've mentioned that before in another video as well. But I'd never talked about it in German. I wanted to be authentic. I wanted to really show my appreciation, my respect for German music. especially, like I said, the progressive German rock of the late 60s and early 70s, and actually speak in the German language doing it. And like I said, it was an attempt. It was an attempt. I talked about Faust. You know, of course, I talked about Kraftwerk, or Kraftwerk, if you will, if you want to speak English and be pretentious. Zu synth-based, zu meinen Favoriten zu gehören. Fun, fun, fun of the Autobahn mit einem Ende, das Englisch klingt wie Pink Floyd's On the Run, das ein Jahr zur veröffentlicht würde. And you know I talked about Accept because these guys are right up there with the Scorpions to me. I love Udo Dirkschneider's voice, always have. It's very distinctive. Talked about this album before when I talked about Japanese pressings. I'm sure I've mentioned this album before in a video. But yeah, maybe I've never talked about the UDO band though that he did later. Hier ist Udo Dirkschneider mit dem Debüt seiner Nachtenband UDO. Das Album heißt Animal House. Schau dir die glowing Augen an? Ja. So yeah, mentioned all of those and more, talked about my whole history with taking German in junior high and the movies we used to watch, and I was never a person that associated Germany with Lederhosen and clogs and things like that a lot of older Americans do. The films we saw would show Germany in the 70s because this was the late 80s. And the films we were seeing in school were from the 70s. So everybody had bell bottoms on and stuff like that. And it was all these like 70s clothes and whatever. But yeah, no Lederhosen. As a matter of fact, I had a teacher in junior high, and one of the first things he taught us was Germany is not all this stuff that you're seeing from like 100 years ago. It's actually quite modern. So I got my appreciation for modern Germany right from the get-go. Ended the video by once again talking about incredible German pressings of bands that are not from Germany, specifically the Beatles, these two albums, and the Revolver album, and the With the Beatles album. They sound terrific. These are like the best pressings you can get of these. But I've done a whole video in English on that, so there's no reason to go into all that again. Even talked about newer bands like Rammstein. Du hast mich. Du hast mich gefragt, du hast mich gefragt, du hast mich gefragt und ich habe nicht gesagt. Der Song wurde später auf Englisch veröffentlicht, aber das Wortspiel wurde ungültig, weil im Englischen die Wörter für haben und hassen nicht dasselbe sind. And so, yeah, just wanted you to know, see some clips, and maybe if you speak German or if you are German, you can see for yourself why I decided not to upload the entire video. In fact, I didn't even finish editing it. You know what? I made an attempt. And it didn't turn out quite like I wanted it to. I kept not having words, and then had to use the English word and inserting English words into it because, again, we're talking about music here, and certain terms like screeching or psychedelic or majestic or just things like that, you know, a lot of terms that I didn't know the German word for and didn't realize that until I started doing the video. I've never been good with the whole pronoun thing, putting the pronoun, because Germany has different pronouns for different words, where in English it's all just the, basically. Germany has, of course, the der, das, die, and then if you put it as a receive, you know, at the end of the sentence to receive the, anyway, and then it's den, and it's just very complicated, and I did not want to embarrass myself any further than I already have in this particular video, just showing you a few clips. So all I can say, because I've mentioned I was going to do this coming up, and I didn't want you to think I'd completely abandoned the idea. I just wanted to let you know, Germany, I tried. I made an attempt. I tried. Please forgive me. Yeah, just... It's not ready for prime time. It is not ready for prime time. Sorry about that. Danke, dass du bis zum Ende des Videos gekommen bist. Ich entschuldige mich jetzt bei allen Deutschen dafür, dass ich, wie soll ich sagen, auf ihre Sprache trampling. Ich komme nie dazu durchzusprechen, also habe ich das meiste, was ich gelernt habe, vergessen. Ich verspreche, dass alle folgenden Videos auf Englisch sein werden. Vielen Dank fürs Zuschauen. Auf Wiedersehen.